All right, folks. If you are followers of the Dear DSO, I guess you could say series, where I take questions, emails from folks, they send them in via the website. The website, by the way, is deardso.com. That's deardso.com. You can submit a story, or on the form where you fill it out, you can check a little box to say that I would like to talk to Ralph live and talk about the problem, issue, what story, whatever it may be, back and forth live. And I say live, this is recorded. But this is one of those such instances, or one of those entries, rather. But this one's a little interesting for you folks that are followers, I guess you could say, of the Dear DSO. You may have heard a name come up more than a few times. A gentleman by the name of Wordsmith has come up quite a bit in my live streams as a, I guess you could say, attendee of live streams, adding some comments here and there, as well as he has submitted, I don't know, Wordsmith, how many, like 3 or 4 different questions to the Dear DSO website page, if you will. And I've answered them, and they've become very popular. I don't know if you've seen Wordsmith that I just let the cat out of the bag here. Wordsmith is live with me here today. You can't see him, but he is on audio. Say hello, Wordsmith.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. But Wordsmith is kind enough to join us for a live chat here today. And we're going to talk about all things Wordsmith, what brought him to my world, Dad Starting Over Now, Help for Men. You can learn more at helpformen.com, by the way. And I guess we'll get into it, because this may be a pretty interesting story from what you've shared over. Is how long you've been writing in, and how long you've been, I guess, been a fan of, and a follower of the Dad Starting Over thing. Has it been over a year now? 2 years?
Yeah, it's probably been more 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So over the years, we can officially say you've been submitting some stuff here. So where to begin is the question. And how you are currently married, right?
I'm divorcing.
You are divorcing. Well, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here. Before we get into that, because that's
But
kind of
technically, yes,
that's
still
the big
married.
reveal here. Is that yes, for those that have been following this saga, the marriage is coming to an end, unfortunately. But how did you and the wife meet?
We met through, let's see, kind of a mutual friend. Basically, a girl I had a casual thing with. A friend of hers was my wife's roommate, and I guess she put in a word and they set us up on a date, basically. Kind of how that went.
So you were having a casual, and by that you mean sexual relationship with a gal, nothing
Mhm.
serious. And
Right.
that gal had a friend, and you got to know that friend better.
This is the friend of her friend.
Friend of a friend
So,
kind of thing.
yeah, so the friend of benefits, her best friend was my wife's roommate. So,
Okay, gotcha. Friend of a friend thing. And
yeah.
then so you met her some gathering or something, you got to know each other, and make a long story short, what is it about her, this friend of a friend of a friend thing? What is it about her that made her your eventual wife?
Well, I've been dating casually for like a while. I was really not, looking for anything serious at the time. Enjoyed just, my free time and, I don't know if you'd say I was a player or whatever, but I was a guy who just didn't get attached, or hadn't been for like a while to anyone. I don't think I'd had a relationship longer than 4 to 6 months with the same girl. But with her, just something was different. It just felt, like she's the first one I really liked on another level, you know? So it just felt a little bit different.
Your audio is a little choppy there. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. As I hit my microphone, you're just cutting in and out a little bit there. So, so if I
Yeah.
understand you there, so you had like a series of casual relationships with gals, and this one was
Yeah.
different in the fact that you had a good emotional, mental, intellectual connection with her. She was a genuine good person.
Yeah. And that happened really quickly, which I'd never really experienced before. And I was getting kind of burnt out on just, dating and, going out, meeting various women and so forth. It does get tiring after a while. And I'm like, I'm just going to stick with this one for a bit and see what happens.
Which would you consider her to be kind of a low drama person compared to all the rest?
Seemed to be at the time, yeah.
Yeah, very low. I mean, this is, if you've watched my stuff, this is something I hear quite often is a lot of guys will tell me I was with crazy after crazy after crazy, their words and
Right.
mine. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
they meet the gal who was like, "Oh, thank God." And
Yeah.
a common phrase that I hear from a lot of those men, tell me if this is similar, is a lot of those men will say, "She's kind of like one of the guys." She's
Um,
so down to earth.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, we just clicked on that level. Talked to her. We had a few interests. We had a lot of differences, but we still had a few things that brought us together. Just felt, like, okay, I just want to chill with her for a bit because, yeah, I've been down the crazy gauntlet with all these other, I don't call them borderline personality girls or ones who suddenly just go psycho and start to see the red flags, eventually start to see the patterns and start to say, oh, okay, I'm out, quickly. But, after you go through a couple of them to get to that awareness, and she
Hmm.
didn't really seem to display any of those red flags. So
Did she come from a good family?
yeah,
And her mom and dad are still together?
yeah, they've been together close to 30 years, I think. Really good, well-to-do family, professionals.
Would you say they're a loving couple?
They seem to be. Her, she's from her family's from Europe, so culturally it's a little bit different, which might explain some of the things that I had problems with later on in the relationship. But so they seem to be very loving and happy together. So,
Where did you say they're from? You cut out a little bit there.
they're from Europe, well, from a European country.
From a European country. Okay, so we'll leave it at that just to keep it as vague as possible. Well, if you don't know, my mother's from Europe as well, and my wife is
Right.
from Europe as well, so I'm well aware of that. But so you kind of maybe are seeing some things that are a little eyebrow raising as far as it's different from what you're used to, but you kind of chalk it up to, well, there's a difference in culture there. Maybe it's a little, but in hindsight, after knowing this woman for, I mean, how long you been married now?
Let's see, married for 13 years, together about 14.
Okay.
And also, since her family is from Europe, I only see them maybe once or twice a year. So I haven't
Okay.
had a whole lot
Not
of time
really.
to really
Yeah.
observe their relationship dynamics.
Yeah, you don't see them day to day and what they're like,
Right,
day in and day out, living together and so forth. Okay,
right.
so and she is she kind of a type A high achiever type person?
Yes.
Hmm. And would you say that you are as well, or no?
I used to be. I used to
What?
be.
Yeah. So you've mentioned writing, you've mentioned music, so all that points to you're a bit of a creative person,
Yeah. Mhm.
and she is not. She's more of a studious type A type
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Hmm.
She's been much more practical, down to earth. Did the college track, got a degree, went for a career, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's also a common dynamic. Is usually, and this isn't unusual in the men I talk to, where the man is the dreamer, so to speak,
Mhm.
kind of
Right.
has the, he's in bands and he's doing this and doing that. And one day, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will click for him and he'll have a genuine career from his creative endeavors. But
Right.
he's not the type to sit at a desk all day long. While the wife is the more structured one, the more, I went to college, I'm a lawyer now, I'm a doctor, I'm a whatever. And it could be,
Right.
it could be inferred that that's somewhat my relationship with my wife now, is that she is a surgeon. She's a pediatric surgeon, so she's very well paid, highly
Mhm.
trained. My wife was the type that she had a lull there where she started a new job as an attending. This was years ago in Maine, and then when she started that, she's like, kind of a lull, not much to do work wise, not a lot of patience. So in the downtime, I'm just going to go ahead and get my MBA as well. So,
Right.
so she's a medical doctor, all this training, went through all this residency fellowship, and oh yeah, might as well just get my MBA as well. So now she has her MBA. That's my wife.
Right.
That's not
Right.
necessarily me. If somebody said, "You want to go back to school?" I'm like, "Oh hell no, I don't want to go back to school." I'm
Right.
just not wired that way. I'm much more of the entrepreneurial type for sure, creative type. You can see behind me guitars, and I
Yeah.
like that world as well, and writing too. So we have something in common.
Right.
Thankfully, I found something in my life that allows. I used to be a corporate dude as well, hated every minute of it.
Mhm.
um, got out of that, did the entrepreneurial thing, failed, back to working for a company, and now this, the dad starting over in a helpformen.com thing, and is it, thankfully I got some success at it, and I wrote something that was popular, which allowed me to branch out and do a lot of other different things.
Right.
But knock on wood, that continues and we're doing well so far. But
Right.
that's not the case for a lot of creative types, is it? Usually they're struggling, frankly. If you're,
Yeah.
the stereotype of the starving actor and out in Hollywood,
Yeah. I
that
mean, there's a stereotype. I mean, I worked in sales for like
fails. Hmm.
over 8 to 9 years, Typical day job. Especially when I first got married, I've been doing that for a few years and continued to do it for several years and hated it, of course. It was miserable all day, every day. So, yeah, I definitely don't care what you're saying there about the whole corporate thing.
I
Not
was
really
just
for
going
me.
to say sales, and I was like, really? That doesn't really
Yeah,
go well with the whole creative mindset. And you're like, yeah, I hated it. Yeah, that's you just happen to pick something that you're just not wired for.
I was
Guess what?
good at it. The money was good, but I'm still miserable sitting at a desk
It's
all day.
miserable. Yeah,
The,
I same. I'm not of that world either. Here's the thing. It's interesting with sales, and you hate to say this because some of the best people I've known are good salespeople,
yeah,
but they tend not to be the most introspective, creative, deep individuals, are they? The
right,
really, really good salespeople. They're pretty simple, straightforward. Ask for the
right,
sale, yes, no, move on to the next guy type of people, and they take rejection very well. It's like it's no big deal to them.
yeah,
More sensitive types, more creative types. Um, Sometimes lend itself to the more neurodivergent types,
oh
ADHD and
yeah,
otherwise. And
right.
I don't know if that's you. And
I don't know if I have ADHD, but I'm extremely neurotic. I'm
extremely
like
neurotic. Okay.
Like Woody Allen level neurotic.
Yeah.
I'm not as verbal as he is because he's funny in the movies, but yeah, my mind's spinning like that all the time. The anxiety, all that stuff. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. And so over the years, you've known that about yourself, or is that something that's gotten
Yeah,
worse with age?
gotten worse with past several years of life and so forth. But yeah, I've always been that way.
So, yeah, and that's big of you to recognize that in yourself. A lot of people, especially men, don't like to say, I'm a neurotic guy. And for those that don't know, technically, neuroticism is a personality trait, and
Yeah,
it's one of the five. And To oversimplify it, and maybe this isn't necessarily fair, but the definition I often give to it is kind of a propensity for negative thought patterns in a person. So,
yeah,
if you're a type that's high in anxiety, prone to depression, ruminating often about things and stuff, and you have to take a glass of wine every night to calm the f down, and you smoke pot just to be able to function day to day, you're probably a high, to use the clinical terms, you probably rank high in trait neuroticism, or as Wordsmith here says, I'm kind of a neurotic dude.
yeah,
And I probably not to your degree, but anxiety is something that I've dealt with my most up until young adulthood, and then something kind of clicked in me, and I started doing a lot better in that regard. But that's something I struggled with quite a bit as a teenager into young adulthood, was extreme levels of anxiety, and it didn't do well. And as you know, Wordsmith, it doesn't bode well for men, especially.
mhm,
It doesn't bode well for men that want to be in romantic relationships long term with somebody, because
right.
that typically doesn't go over well with the ladies in our life, does it?
Yeah, I mean that's a big factor in what I'm going through right now. It really is.
Yeah. So and again, that's also big of you to say. It's like, yeah, my anxieties, my neuroticism contributed to the downfall of the relationship. Is that something that has been at the forefront, something that has been talked about, mentioned? Your anxieties, your issues with stress, for lack of a better word. Is that something the wife has mentioned as being, I don't like this, we need to work on this? Is that something you have been very overtly working on, or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've tried therapy. I've done, I've tried medicines. I've tried all this stuff. Never really worked very well for me. So I've tried a lot of things over the years to try to get over that and to cope with it. And it's, with all the stress that has come into life recently, the past few years, it's gotten much worse and harder to manage.
which is
And of course, it affects the relationship.
yeah. It's one of those, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It sounds
Hmm.
like you've always been kind of an anxious guy, even pre-wife, right?
Oh yeah,
And so, but it doesn't help to be in a relationship, which we'll get to here in a minute, evolves into
right.
something that's not the most loving relationship in the world. And you've
Hmm.
also been a stay-at-home father and all kinds of things. That really builds on that anxiety, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Oof. So let's get into it. So you get married. We're
Right.
skipping a lot here. Um, is Do you move across country, or
Well, we got married, and then we stayed where we were for a few years. Everything was fine. Um, let's see, 3 years after we got married, my mother passed away,
oh, sorry to
and
hear that.
I was really close to my mom, and I sank into kind of a really deep depression,
Mm.
and so that's kind of when things really kind of go a little off for us, I think. Um, so I struggled with some issues with that for a while, and then there were more job opportunities for her, like out here. And we'd always talk about moving to a better climate because we were tired of winter and all the, all the cold and all that stuff. So we decided to move out to this area and start over. And I quit my corporate job and moved out here, and I started doing freelance writing and stuff, and actually making some money on the side. And I was able to do that full time once we got out here. And she was making really good money with her job as well.
And is the writing something that you have pursued at least on a part-time basis throughout, or no?
Off and on. When we got the
Mhm.
kids full time, that's when I kind of put a hold on that. I just didn't really have so much time to do it.
Now you said kids, plural. How many kids do you have?
Let's see, 4.
4 kiddos. Oof. And when did you start having children, or what was the? Because I think I know how the
Hmm.
kids came about, but you tell us. Like, when did you start having children, or how did that work?
Well, we decided to adopt, and first we adopted some children, then we became foster parents to some other children, and eventually adopted those children as well. So it kind of happened very quickly. We became parents to several children.
What made you go down the road of adoption, if I may ask?
We were not able to conceive.
Is that again? I'm prying. I'm getting into personal things here, but
That's fine.
was that an issue of physical issues on her part, your part, both, or
A little bit of both, I think.
both of you had issues with the fertility? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
But who was the driver? Was it were you both equally on yay team parent mode, like you were going to do this regardless, or was she more of the driver?
Um, She was more the driver. I was okay. Basically, said I was kind of neutral whether we ever had kids or not. I didn't. It wasn't like a mission of mine to have kids, and but if it happened, okay, look, that's fine. If that's what we want. You tell she was really wanting it as she got to a certain age, around 30 or so, and that she was unhappy not to pursue that. So I agreed to do that, you know, for her mostly, and this is kind of where it went. She was really the one who wanted to do that, and so I said, okay, fine, if this is the time, then fine, we'll do that now.
Yeah, again, something I hear a lot from men is kind of like, that's fine. It to bring other human beings into the world. It's not necessarily the best uh, to bring them into the world with the attitude or atmosphere of if that's what you want to do, cool. you would
Yeah,
hope you would hope that both are like, yeah, let's freaking do this. But I'm not kicking you because that was kind of my theme. I have 4 of them as well, and I would say, if I'm being completely honest, I love my children. I would murder for my kids. I love them more than anything. I'm so glad I have my kiddos. They put a smile on my face every day. But at the beginning, with both spouses, when they came to me and say, "Want to have kids?" I was just like, "Sure, uh,
right.
okay." And if they would have said, I don't want to ever have children ever," I'd probably been like, "All right, cool." Um, I was an only child. I don't know about you. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 3.
You're the youngest of 3. Okay. Well, I was an only child, so I didn't have the benefit of, growing up with a sibling. I always wanted an older brother, and my parents
Yeah,
always laughed when I said that. They're like, "Well, we can't do anything about that." It's
right.
like, I could have adopted, I guess. But so you adopt a couple and then decided to foster. Um, Something I've also heard talking to a lot of guys, that they themselves were adopted, or they and their spouse, like you and your spouse adopted, was that pretty at times tumultuous, stressful experience. Would you say the same?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am also adopted.
You are okay.
Um,
I'll
I
say I didn't
am.
know that. Okay.
So I've been familiar with the whole experience a bit. I was adopted when I was like 4, so that's pretty young. But yeah, I mean, it
You
was,
cut out there for a second. How old were you?
I was 4 years old
4.
when I was
Okay.
adopted. So yeah, it was pretty stressful when we finally got the kids and settled into that routine. Because adopting from foster care, kids have had trauma and things from early life and childhood, which
Yeah.
is why they're
Yeah.
in the system to begin with. So it was suddenly stressful enough to be suddenly become parents, to speak to kids who are not babies, and then to suddenly like, oh, they have these other issues and things that are doing affecting the whole dynamic as well. And it's kind of a whirlwind they get sucked into. And when you're already a very neurotic, anxious guy, you're suddenly like, okay. And you're like, it's just overwhelming, to say the least, and it took a while to get to the groove of
Now, so we're building, like, I try to picture 2 people, the husband and wife, and it's very easy to build a wall between the 2 of them when it
it.
romantically. And you're building bricks of this wall as we speak. And one is like, husband has some issues with anxieties, neuroticism, whatever it may be,
Hmm.
stress. That's going to get in the way of two people connecting. And then we have maybe it could be argued the wife's type A, kind of career oriented, whatever. It can be a block between two people, as
Right.
if it takes too much of their time and energy and so forth, and it gets in the way of connecting. And then it's like, hey, you know what we need to do on top of those two things is let's bring some adopted kids who have is it fair to say special needs?
Yeah.
Okay. And the special needs comes in the form of, are we talking like
Um,
autism or?
yeah, I mean, a couple of them are autistic. Let's see, some of them have PTSD and ADHD, all that stuff.
Wow.
So,
So
I mean,
two autistic kids, PTSD. So you really, from an outside observer, and this doesn't mean to kick a person while they're down, it's almost as if seeing somebody who is purposely building this wall between, or really, or it could be argued, really testing the strength of the relationship by throwing all
right,
this on top. Throwing the wall metaphor aside, maybe putting weight on your shoulders is a better metaphor. It's like, so you're just really weighing yourself down again and again, and really seeing how much you can, how strong you are, and how much you
right.
can carry, you two as a couple. And from what I've seen, people only have so much of a limit, my man. I mean, with their
Yeah,
anxieties and everything else, even if you were a very low neuroticism, low anxiety person who was very mentally strong, for lack of a better word, um, even that person would be stressed to the gills by taking on four special needs kids.
yeah,
On top of that, you may have said it already. I don't remember. Stay at home father.
yeah. When we took on the finally got four kids in the house, I stopped writing it to just do the stay-at-home dad thing full time.
So you set aside your writing because who has time for that when you're trying to take care of four kiddos?
Yeah, because they have special needs and have appointments and therapies and all the stuff, and so always have to be available. So it was just made more sense. My wife had gotten an even better job and pay increase and so forth, so she was doing really well. So it just made sense for me to put down a hold for the time being to focus on the kids who are really small. So
So you were uber involved in the children's lives,
yeah.
you yourself personally. Was your wife
Oh,
very much involved?
oh yeah, 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 like extremely. She wanted to because she's top A, she has to control everything. So she wanted to control everything about the kids as far as like setting up all the appointments. She was in charge of doing a lot of stuff. I was involved as well. I was taking them to places. I was there for them to, when she was working and so forth and doing all the basic things for them. And as far as like setting up like, the therapies and being in charge of all the different meetings and things, my wife handled a lot of that because she wanted to. And then I would kind of come in sort of as, to pick up some slack from her. So yeah, I mean, she's definitely been very much like, that's typical in a lot of things she does in her life, the captain of things.
The manager.
And
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And with this particular thing, I was happy to let her do that since, she was from the get go more invested in wanting to do this. So
Okay. So she, in hindsight, was very much the driver in your mind of let's take these special needs kids on. Let's help shape their lives. And here, let me manage everything. I'm the leader here. You're kind of the, I mean, how would you describe your role in all of this, looking back?
um well just kind of a captain co-captain dynamic, I guess maybe.
Mhm.
Whereas, I helped out with anything she needed, did took care of all the basic stuff, try to get up the kids in the morning, try to get them ready for school, get them off to school, take them to therapies, do things with them at the school with their homework and everything. Just doing all the basic day-to-day stuff. And then as far as like managing the therapies and getting services for them, or because it's so hard to do that to get proper services. It's taking years to finally get some good system in place,
Yeah, I'm
which
sure.
kind of tells you how bad you know the lack of help is out there for
So
people
while
who need that.
while she's, I don't know if this is fair or not to say, while she's at the 30,000 foot level, or that's not fair because she's more involved than that. So she's kind of captaining and directing and telling people where to go, but you're very much the get her done guy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, basically pick up a slack doing all the things to make sure the machine keeps going as much as I could.
okay.
Um,
And how do you, in hindsight, how do you feel about that role? Were you happy
um,
with your work? You're like, I'm cut out for this. This is for me. I'm glad I did this, or is this something you resent?
uh, because it's not something I resent because I love the kids and everything, but I did not enjoy a lot of those stress and the work and the stuff that went along with it. It took a toll on me, like mentally a lot,
I'm
and she
sure.
could see that too. she see that because I mean I would like pull away a little bit from her, I guess, or need some time for myself here and there, and not be as enthusiastic about like going out to do things and doing all those different activities. As it seems like as a woman, she always has like she's ready to go to do something new and different all the time, and I'm not that guy. I wasn't before we had kids, really. When she was like, "Well, I'm bored, let's go do something." Like, we just did work and crap all week. It was just relax for a day. It's like, no, it's like me, I'm bored by now. Let's go do something.
Yeah.
And then I would do it, but then she'd be unsatisfied, like typical woman that I didn't know seemed happy to do this. So now that's not as fun for her. you know?
So she's very energetic, go go go, type A person.
Yeah.
This is my wife as well. My wife does not like to sit and relax,
Oh
so
yeah.
we have to fill the calendar with something. And
Yeah.
but she's open to learning from me. Like, no, every now and then a Sunday of nothing is perfectly okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to look at we're going to buy a plane ticket to go skiing somewhere. No, we just a common question I will ask men, and let's just preface this by saying you and I are talking because I don't talk to men who just have amazing, wonderful, fulfilling relationships and they just want to share it with the world.
Right.
They talk to me because things didn't go quite right. But your story is relatively unique. You have to know this, with the stay-at-home father's relatively unique, although I'm hearing that more and more.
Yeah.
Um, your baseline level of high anxieties, your taking on the four special needs kids. This is a pretty, oh
Mhm.
wow. I think anyone listening to this story would say, oh wow, it just sounds exhausting. Um, so with that being said, typically when I talk to guys, I will say, when did the wheels fall off the relationship?
Mhm.
And probably the number one thing I hear is, oh, as soon as my wife had a baby, or as
Oh
soon
yeah.
as baby number 2 or 3 came along, we were great up until then.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily your story, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is to ask that question, is that fair, or is it safe to
Yeah,
say,
absolutely. I mean,
okay,
things
okay,
were really good. I mean, it's like you hear a lot of guys say, as soon as we got married, suddenly she's like, "Well, we don't have to have sex anymore. It's great. It's over." But that wasn't really our case. Things got better after marriage, even for 7, 8 years of being
oh
married.
well,
Things were really good. Things were good. I mean, that department, we never had any issues as far as her saying, having an excuse or not wanting to do it. Things were fine. I mean, of course, they tempered down a little bit for me from the beginning, like they do, but that was me too. So, yeah, but everything seemed okay, and we were pretty happy with that. At least I was. She didn't seem to have any issues. As soon as kids came in the picture, though, suddenly the excuses started in, just like, yeah, I'm just tired, or just, I don't want to do this, I got this, just the excuses that you hear, all the same common ones. And it kind of throws you for a loop. You're like, huh, okay, this is different. Okay. But well, hopefully it'll resign itself after things settle down a bit. But no, it just kind of became more and more of the normal. So that's
and
when
what we're
things really started to kind of fall apart for me.
and let's put it out there when we're talking about excuses. We mean excuses not to be physically intimate with you.
Yeah, like excuses,
Okay.
I'm too tired, or I got to get up early, or I need, I just showered, or whatever it is. Just take a basic excuse, or you're like, yeah, I don't feel like it, or it's just all the excuses that you hear, all the typical common ones you and everybody watching your channels heard 1,000 times probably.
And you can pinpoint the genesis of those excuses, as you put it, reasons for not connecting with you. You can point to those really didn't start until kid number 1, kid number 2. Like when exactly?
Yeah, we adopted two kids who were
2 at
siblings,
once. Oh, okay.
and because they came together, they're siblings, and then the other group was also siblings, so we adopted later. Um, So yeah, as soon as that happened there, and I noticed, just right after that, you know, suddenly that part of the marriage started to like go away.
So, it's a lot of people listening to that would jump to the conclusion of kids in particular are the thing which breaks the camel's back, as so to speak, or it's the last straw in the relationship that causes it to falter. And it's like that's not necessarily fair to the kids. What really is the culprit here is stress, a
Yeah.
stressor of some kind. It could have been your cancer diagnosis. It could have been your job loss, your house caught on fire, something.
Mhm.
But really, if you think about it, none of those can compare to we're responsible for the well-being, the life of a new little human. In fact,
Yeah.
two little humans. In fact, two little humans that come with a lot of baggage, let's be honest, a lot of
Right.
emotional issues and so forth, special needs and so forth. It's you could not have picked a more stressful thing, for lack of better word, than what you guys chose in the form of adopting two special needs children and having a very busy wife and having a guy who is high anxiety and so forth. So, boy, you're really building that wall. And
Yeah,
so that's what I was saying. Is it necessarily fair to say when did the wheels fall off? But you've identified no, actually, and this kind of is a testimony to your wife, your relationship more generally. But even though you had this propensity for anxiety and so forth, even though um, you weren't this hugely gainfully employed guy making all this money, even though you're the creative and she's the more logistical manager, even through all of that, you were like, we were great. Everything was wonderful, if I understood, from a period of 7 to 8 years.
yeah, it was mostly pretty good there. I mean, early on in the relationship, I got promoted to sales, and I was making twice what she was, so I was kind of like the big breadwinner for a few years, and things were great then. And then my mom passed away, and had depression issues, and then we decided to move, and it was just kind of a struggle with that. There was things. It was kind of a little bit of a rocky block, but we were still okay though. We were still
That was,
talking things, working things through.
yeah.
So we bounced back from that pretty well, I thought, and things are getting better. And then we decided to adopt the kids, and now this new thing's happening.
So at the beginning of the relationship, you were the breadwinner in terms of, had to keep score. Who makes more money? You were the winner in that department.
Right.
So do you feel that may have helped at the beginning of the relationship? Do you think if you were part-time writer guy that the relationship would have
I
succeeded at
say
the
no.
beginning?
Yeah, I think so. But I believe that definitely might have played a bit of a factor in the beginning of the relationship.
But then you had the acute stressful moment of your mother passing away, and you didn't cope too well with that, and it sent you into a depression. But your relationship remained. I mean, your wife had every excuse
Did
to say, "I this is too much. I can't deal with this. Goodbye." But she didn't. She stuck around.
right?
So that's a positive. So I'm
Yeah,
I'm,
it's
I'm building
positive.
up some positives here on the wife's a good woman box. Check check. She's stuck with you through this, stuck with you through that. You
Right.
move, great. You're saying after the move, I want to be this. Was there ever any pressure from her to go get you a traditional desk job somewhere doing something? Quit with this writing nonsense.
Um, well, when I was really in the throes of the depression, and everything, I did struggle to stay on top of the writing as far as like and deadlines and so forth, and I lost a couple clients here and there just because I was just mentally, I was just burnt out, and just, like it was a struggle, yeah. So I did have some issues with that, and that was a point of contention and stress. But I eventually kind of pulled out of that and started doing pretty well with it consistently. But I think when we had kids, I think she never envisioned being the primary breadwinner. I think she envisioned more of a traditional thing where I remained the breadwinner and she would stay home with the kids.
Oh, really?
And then the opposite happened, or at least she would work part time and not be sort of responsible for that. And I think I don't think she's ever been happy with that dynamic.
You think she had a lot of resentment about that arrangement?
I think so, yeah.
Well, but being such a type A go getter woman,
Mhm.
you're saying you think she assumed it would be the flip flop. Did she ever say that to you, or is that just
Uh,
you inferring?
she has said she would rather be the stay at home mom. She said that
Oh,
to me
yeah.
before. So I think she wanted to throw her type A stuff all full 100% into being mom mode. She
Interesting.
still did. She still did as much as possible. And then she still did the job thing too. She's continued to climb the ladder and she's really successful there. Um, so she kind of wants both, I guess. But I think she did want the option at least to be able to do that for a while.
Hmm. We I'm pausing the story at this point, thinking of a timeline. Let's pause here at the timeline. I want to go back a little bit because we picked on
Sure.
or talked about her mom and dad and everything else, but we really didn't talk about yours. You mentioned you being adopted. I'm sure that has some impact on your future relationships, no doubt. But
Possibly.
your mom and dad still together?
My mom passed away
Oh, yeah, that's right. You said your
10,
mom passed
10
away. I'm
years ago.
sorry. Yeah,
But they worked together like
they
for
were up until
30
then.
some odd years. Um, they were very much traditional. Dad was a strong Catholic, very Catholic family. My mom was a Protestant, so they were very different people, but they stayed together. I mean,
They
they
did.
argued a lot, and there's a lot of that in the home that I heard growing up. I mean, if you ever saw people who maybe shouldn't be together, you'd say, yeah, those people probably shouldn't be together. They're just too different, but they stayed together. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. Dad had the job and everything. And it's very traditional, conservative type.
So you're painting the picture of two people that were at odds with each other, with the fighting so different, their religious backgrounds and so forth, but they quote unquote made it work.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, they stayed together and until the end and everything. They loved each other. And that's just what you did. Not one of them believed in divorce or separation or anything like that.
well,
They just made it work.
is that a dynamic that you look back on fondly and say that's what I want, or do you look back on
No,
that and say there's a couple of people that probably shouldn't have been together?
no, I was said, I was said growing up, even during my 20s, that yeah, marriage is not going to be for me. I don't want even the option of that sort of relationship happening. I don't want to get trapped in that. I don't want to get changed one person. I enjoy playing the field, doing those other things. And so when I finally did decide to marry, I'm not even still, even now, still like, is this the right thing? Do I really want this? I was still kind of unsure, but I was just tired of going through all these women that I just didn't even like that well, and finally found one that I really liked. And was, he clicked on so many levels. I'm like, you know what, fine, we'll do this, and I think this feels right. Even that was still like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Your relationship prior to kids, you talked about it. It was great for the 7, 8 years.
Yeah,
Was your relationship sexually what you would call like a hot and heavy phase during that?
it was pretty decent. I mean, we get through phases where, you know, I wouldn't want it as much, and she, actually asked me to do it more. There's times in a relationship like that. And early on in the relationship, she would initiate often. Things were really good that way, and she never said no. Or every time I wanted to do it, she was totally up for it. We had a good time, and there was ups and downs as far as like as far as the frequency, but that was kind of on both of us. There was nothing that we were seemed unhappy with overall.
Hmm. Okay, so back in the timeline to here you are, four kiddos, special needs. You're in essence unemployed, but doing if you can, the writing thing. You kind of got out of the writing thing just due to time, the
Yeah,
logistics of life. Who has time for any of that stuff when you're running
right.
everyone's kids to different appointments and everything else? Wife is gainfully employed, thankfully, doing all this. But the separation between you two, romantically, if you want to put it that way, is widening. At what point does it get to be the issue where Wordsmith says, "I don't like this, and I'm going to start"? I guess you could say researching into this, and which is in turn how you found me and others, I assume.
Yeah, probably within like about a year of that, of me realizing, okay, this doesn't seem to be getting any better. She just never seems like, and she even says basically just, as you pointed out before, I just have no interest. I don't even think about it. Typical, very typical from the guys you speak with. I know. And it's like, really? Okay, just never even have thought of it, or it's not something she had any priority for in her life anymore. And she seemed like she just
Your
wanted me to
audio
fix
was
them.
your audio was drifting there a bit. So you were saying she
Oh,
just tells
sorry.
you, I just don't ever think about it.
Yeah, basically, just doesn't seem to be something she cared to have in her life anymore, and she didn't seem overly concerned with how I felt about it, or at least didn't see the importance of it, and how it could affect our overall marriage. Like it was just a trivial thing that meant almost nothing to her. She's fully invested in this other, you know, this next step in her life, as being a super mom and career woman, all this stuff, and that's just not something that's behind her. I guess it's kind of the impression I got from
Is there a part of you that felt taken advantage of, like being the guy that's doing all this work that she's just like he doesn't need that other side of the relationship. He's even though he's taking care of everything. You know how often we hear from guys
her.
or gals rather, like in the comments on my videos and so forth, whenever the topic of dead bedrooms and sexless marriages comes up, invariably you're going to have ladies on there saying, well, perhaps if the man did more around the house, perhaps if he helped out more, then the woman would
Yeah.
be less stressed, and then her sexuality could blossom more so than what it is. And
Right.
that's not necessarily fair to you, is it?
No, no, it's not. But just I did feel a little bit taken advantage of there, or at least just as if she just didn't value my needs. Like, my needs are not
Mhm.
important, or if it's not a need for her, and I should just accept it, and it's not going to get better. So, I mean, she was just kind of laughing off half the time. I had tried to have a talk with her, um, and it just became like, okay, she just doesn't care about this at all. So, what do I do? I mean, I don't want to, divorce and start over again, and been out on the job market for years, like we got the kids now to think about, and they have special needs. I mean, I don't know if one of us could do this by themselves because
Yeah.
of it.
You kind of painted
the
yourself
dynamics
into a
going on.
corner here, life
Yeah, I
wise.
mean, it's not like they're just healthy, well-adjusted kids that, there's like one or two of them or whatever, and they'd be fine. But I mean, of course, scars regular kids. What's he going to do to these
Absolutely.
kids who've had so much insecurity in their life already? And so I still don't see how it's really going to work that well. She seems to
So,
think it's going to be fine.
well, we're jumping ahead in the story here. So
Yeah.
you're working on this, you're researching this, you're watching my videos, you're watching others, you're probably reading books and podcasts and everything else like a
Right.
lot of guys do. And so, was she during all of this? Was she pretty as cold as what you're saying? Was she just like, "Hey, buddy, that part of our life's over with. Just deal with it"?
She didn't say specifically, but she kind of implied it as if, she said, okay, well, we can do it more, whatever. And then she would just have excuses, or she would just say, well, just don't think about it, just don't feel it. And I don't know, just, I'm older now. I'm not young. I'm like, you're freaking 33. You're not
Hmm.
over the hill yet. So, I mean, you're not 22 anymore, like when we got married, but you're still, not menopausal or whatever. I mean, this shouldn't really be happening. But she just seemed to think, well, you should get yourself checked out, maybe through doctors. So she said, yeah, well, sometime. And of course, that never happens. It's
Yeah.
just wasn't important to her.
Hmm.
It was
You
just
know,
like a
there's
non-issue.
you're making a lot of the, and I'm making air quotes here for people that this will be on the audio on the podcast as well as on video. I'm
Mhm.
doing air quotes when I say a mistake that you are making. Is one way of looking at it. That a
Mhm.
lot of guys do is kind of framing it in terms of, "Hey, woman, I got needs over here. What the hell?"
Right.
As opposed to the end game is the same. The end result or the goal is the same, but it's a little softer, especially for the women to hear something effective. I would like to for us to connect again, not
Right.
necessarily just the old hokey pokey in the bedroom. I could literally hire somebody to do that. I wouldn't, but I could. I don't want to do that. I want to connect with my wife and let's date. Let's go back to the way we used to be more so. I know
Mhm.
we can't 24/7 like we used to pre kids, but we can shoehorn us in there somehow, which will hopefully eventually lead to activity in the bedroom. Did the conversation ever lead in that more holistically nicer way?
Not really. I
No.
never really went there. It just, as I said, she was just brushing it off as being, she understood I had concerns, and it was a thing for me, but it wasn't for her. And like, she's like, what are you expecting me to do? I mean, it's, it's just basically the impression I got that it just wasn't going to be something she wanted to put a lot of effort into fixing.
Were you the type to hold hands, kiss, hug, snuggle, watch TV
Yeah.
together, that
Oh
type of
yeah.
thing?
Yeah, we've had that, just fine. We snuggle, we kiss, we hold hands, we did date nights and stuff. I mean,
Oh, you did?
you know,
Okay.
it's, all the affection stuff, all that seemed fine. There seemed to be
Interesting.
any issues with that at all. It's just, actually going upstairs to the bedroom and doing anything there. It was just, don't suddenly put the brakes on here. You know,
Yeah, most guys I talk to, they don't even have that side of it,
yeah,
the schmoozy, lovey side. It's like it's that everything's just cut off as far as anything that goes away from roommate territory. The wife is very much like no, but yours is veering into the we're still a loving couple territory. We just can't cross the threshold into what you would call like eroticism, I guess you could say,
right,
into that part of it, which is a different world completely. I often tell guys like your wife will snuggle with the kids, your wife will, lay down and take a nap with the dog and pet the dog and spend time, but they don't cross hopefully into the world of eroticism with the wife and the pets or the kids and the pets, so forth. So it's just a different mindset. And what your
yeah.
wife is saying is, I can't get into that mindset. Sorry, not with you. Which begs the question, and I hate to pile on into the anxieties and so forth. And admittedly, this is a relatively small number of people in the general population that experience infidelity. But did that ever occur to you that that may be happening on your wife's side?
I haven't had any reason to suspect that, but,
Good.
but I mean,
Okay.
tough to say. I mean, you never really know until you actually discover it,
Hmm.
But I don't think so. But again, I
Okay.
just
And
never saw
I
anything that
asked,
would indicate.
I asked that not because I suspect anything based upon what you're telling me. I asked that because it always surprises me when I do say that to men. And sometimes they come back with, oh, yeah, we had a moment where I caught her with another guy about, 8 months ago or something. I'm like, whoa, what? Why didn't you
Significant.
lead with that, dude? That's everything. So some men kind of
Yeah.
brush under the rug like, it's no biggie, yeah. Or I caught her texting some men or something. So, but you've never had anything near that. So positive, right? Good.
Right.
Um, but she's a human being, And yes, a lot of women, especially post kiddos, kind of go into a sexual dormancy. At least that's how we interpret it as men. And we just don't see any inkling of any kind of sexuality out of them. And boy, it takes a lot of work to pull it out for some women, not all.
Right.
And it sounds like your wife may be one of those. It's like, I'm too stressed out in mother mode, even though she technically didn't give birth,
Right.
which seems to be kind of a physical starting point for a lot of libido downturn. She is saying just with the logistics of children and responsibility, and I'm kind of mentally in mom mode, that takes me out of that. It's not necessarily fair, though, to throw all of the responsibility for the downturn in sexuality between you two on the kiddos. I think it's just
Right.
one of many things. Like I said, it's the old last straw that broke the camel's back, and
Yeah.
you had a lot of stuff piled up before that. It's just that it was able to weather the storm of all that stress. Even with all that going on, you were still able to stay connected, and that was a good thing. It's just like you identified, like we were just ready for one more thing, and that really tipped us over the edge into disconnection. And that thing happened to be kiddos, unfortunately. So here you are, a year plus or more into, we're just not connected here. Now, what are you doing, Mr. Wordsmith, to try and bridge the gap between you two?
Well, I mean, I researched and did a lot of all my due diligence there, watching podcasts, videos, reading books, and so forth. And a lot of the same similar themes from you and a lot of the other guys in the space was to start with some self-improvement stuff. So I started eating better, working out, lost over 100 pounds, started getting my stuff together that way, started trying to deal with my stress and stuff a bit better, went to some therapy. Um, Two therapists told me that they couldn't help me unless I actually moved out of my current situation.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, okay. So I'm like, all right, well, that doesn't help me a lot, but okay, thanks. And so then I just continue to work on that, and that's what I've been doing till recently. And that's why, you know, everything's been okay as far as I know, till just very recently, suddenly she just changed, like almost overnight, just changed to where she's like no longer affectionate at all, no longer that friendly, kind of cold, standoffish towards me. And then, kind of where we're at now.
Well,
But
okay. So let me back up. You went to more than one therapist, and more than one therapist told you, based upon everything you're telling me, Wordsmith, this is a pretty toxic situation that you need to get out of.
right,
You do need to take on some self improvement, work on what's going on up here, work on your anxieties. Great that you lost a bunch of weight. How much weight did you say you lost?
over 100 times.
Over 100 pounds. So physically, you had some work to do, and
Hmm.
that, as you know in your research, has a great deal of effect on mentally where you're at. Um,
Yeah,
so you're taking care holistically. Pardon me. You're taking care holistically of a lot of things going on with you to try and fix the mental, fix the physical, and you're really working on yourself. And your therapists are listening to you, going, "Great, but you still got to get the hell out of that house and away from that woman."
yeah.
What was it about? Is there part of the story I'm missing here? Is there something that would, because I say this because I got to tell you, most therapists are not going to tell you to get the hell out of Dodge.
Correct.
Most of them are going to work in service of the relationship, almost to a
Right.
fault, almost to like, you need to work on this, you need to work on this. If there's physical abuse, they will tell somebody leave before somebody gets hurt, goes to
Right.
jail, whatever. But barring that, a lot of them will say, like, I caught my wife screwing another man. Do you want to
Right.
work on this relationship or not? You got to put
Right.
that behind us. That's very common in that world. Um, so for me to hear you say not one but two, is that right?
Mhm.
Therapist told you to leave.
Yeah.
Is there more to the story I'm not hearing? Was it that bad?
No,
Was it
there's
just a
just
consistent pattern of bad over and over again, and they see like it's
it
not going
just
to get any better, or
yeah,
what?
it's just been going on so long. It wasn't getting better, and she clearly didn't want to work on that, and it wasn't going to improve no matter what I did. Really, they both kind of came to that conclusion, and you can see how stressed out I was and how it was affecting me mentally and everything else. So they said, yeah, your stress and your anxiety, because that's really what I signed up for the therapy for, was uncontrolled anxiety, and I was having panic, and I was just at wit's end with all the stress of everything. Um, and so they said, yeah, I don't think this is more of an environmental thing. I mean, all these things are pulling on you. You're probably not going to get better unless you get out of that environment.
Yeah, yeah. It's just so, and I'm trying to be as fair to her as possible because I'm only hearing one side of the story, right?
Sure.
So, um, but by the picture you have painted is one of a person who is, you tell me if I'm wrong, really dismissive of your feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that quite a bit. past several years.
I mean, worst case scenario, in my mind, if it's a healthy relationship between two people and the sex fizzles, which happens quite often, which is why I
Right.
sold so many of my books. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, the book is The Dead Bedroom Fix. Check it out. If you're a man, sexless relationship, check out The Dead Bedroom Fix. You can learn more at deadbedroomfix.com. But it's not unusual. It's a very, very common thing. But a healthy relationship will be one where one partner goes hat in hand to the other and says, something's broken between us. We got to work on this. Are you
Mhm.
willing to work with me on this? And the other person says, yes, I recognize this disconnection between us. I take ownership of this and this, but it's also you, partner, take ownership of this and this. Yes, we both have issues to work on. Okay, let's work on this together. That's healthy. A lot of
Right.
men listening to that go, yeah, right, Ralph. Well, guys, a lot of you are in really dysfunctional, unhealthy relationships. What I just described is relatively common in the world of healthy, secure relationships.
Mhm.
We got to work on this. Something's up here. Yeah, I agree. Let's do it. So you go to her and go, something's wrong. We got to work on this. This is broken. And she just goes, nah, dude, sorry.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah,
It's
it's not really, it's not a thing. I mean, yeah, just don't feel it.
toughen up, man. It is
Yeah.
what it is. There's worse things in life than two people not consummating their marriage, so to speak.
Right.
Okay. Fast forward to, did you say there was a sudden shift in her?
Oh, yeah, like a few couple months back, she started getting like a little bit cold and distant, and I think I mentioned something about where we tried to bring up a little bit of a version of talking again, maybe, or just see where she was at there, and that just seemed to like the very next day she was just like checked out. Like she started saying all of a sudden, like okay, we're things are gonna change, we're gonna do this and this, just some different changes that she was making about like you know my behavior was as far as like like don't spend any money on the debit card without checking with me, things like that. Just like okay, it's a little weird, but
Oh, I got you. So her behavior all seemed to point to she has checked out of the relationship.
yeah, and it seemed like she was trying almost as if she was setting things up to do like a test run to see if she could do this by herself by just
Yeah.
pushing me away from things I
Interesting.
normally would do. She's like, no, I got it. Like,
Now,
okay.
in your mind, this is really an all of a sudden about face change in her behavior.
Yeah, because things have been just a few months ago. We had fun, went to a few concerts together, had a few date nights, had pictures of that. We're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, this happened. I'm like, okay. It seemed like right around Thanksgiving this seemed to happen. Like
Now
since then, she's just been very cold.
this is where the old eyebrow goes up, and I say, a sudden change of behavior like that just doesn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
Now, I could very well go to her and go, "What's up with you, Mary?" Let's call her. I
Right.
hope that's not a real name. That would be a good
It's
coincidence.
not.
So good. So, Mary, what's up with you? Now, she may very well say, "Dude, have a seat. The shit I've been going through with this guy. Let me tell you." And she just may rattle off thing after thing of reasons why she's been upset with you. And it wasn't until this last thing he did that finally that made me say, "I'm done here." Now, I don't know what
Right.
that thing may be, and you may not know what that thing may be. It may
Yeah, I
be
don't. I mean,
it may be some little thing you've done a million times, but it was the millionth time that made her say, I'm done
yeah.
here. That's kind of a somewhat complicated, who knows what's going on here, more nuanced way of looking at this. Or the super simple, and Wordsmith, I'm sorry to say, often contributing factor here is with such a sudden shift like that,
Mhm.
there has to be a part of you that says, is there somebody else in the picture here I'm not aware of?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've thought that, and
That's
it seems that way to me too. But I don't know. I don't have confirmation on that yet, but I would not be surprised.
you hate to
And
say I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, you two have been so emotionally and physically separate for a while.
mhm.
In essence, she checked out a while
Right.
ago, if you want to use that term.
Yeah, she said she's been happy for years, and I'm like, really? It's news to me.
That's a in the world of infidelity. That's a very common phrase, which
Yeah.
is this isn't an all of a sudden thing, dude or gal. But I talk to dudes who've been cheated on.
Yeah.
Um, the wives will often tell them, "I've been feeling this way for years." And sometimes those women will pinpoint like a very cataclysmic moment, at least in her mind. Like, remember back when we had that fight about da 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 da?
Right.
Ever since then, I've kind of checked out. The guy's like, really? Why didn't you say something 3 years ago when we had
Oh yeah,
that?
and then she claims to you, oh, we've had this talk. I mentioned this to you, this to you, this thing. Like, no, 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 you didn't. I don't recall that.
They call that rewriting history. Very, very common.
Yeah,
Makes you wonder how much is that reality, how much is this completely fabricated. A lot of men I've talked to have said, "Dude, I'm telling you, what she said did not happen. I was there.
yeah,
That conversation, that incident, that whatever, it
mhm,
was complete opposite of what she's remembering." It's like, well, part of you, part of you, part of you wants to think that maybe this is a manifestation of her trying to absolve herself of some guilt. I feel bad about dismantling this family and leaving this man and cheating
mhm,
potentially and doing all these things. So let me just fabricate some shit to make me feel better. That's a pretty
right,
common human thing to do. Let me just make some shit up to feel better about myself or
right,
project all the blame onto the other person, even though they may have lied, cheat, steal, whatever it may be. No, it's you. You forced me to do this. Or no, I didn't do it. You did. And you're like, wait, what?
oh yeah, yeah, it's
So
just,
common. So I wouldn't be surprised, Mr. Wordsmith, if there's some shenanigans going on behind the scenes,
right.
whatever that may
But,
be. And it
but
may not.
also,
Go ahead.
also just have as on my end, I have to think, okay, I'm not sure what she thinks is going to happen with if she does meet somebody else. What what guy really wants to step into this thing going on? I mean, she's
Yeah,
nearing
dude.
40. She's got 5 kids who not just having 5 kids, but have special needs, a lot of issues. And like, what guy really wants to chain himself to that? I mean, if you're a single guy
Um,
out there, you're not looking to get chained to
yeah.
something.
No, no. Here's the thing. A common phrase that I hear amongst men that discover this kind of stuff or go through this stuff is, what is she thinking?
Yeah.
Another is, this doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
I'll have some guy that's like, my wife is dirt poor, has all this debt, has all these health problems or whatever, and she happened to meet some dude at her part-time go nowhere job that makes her feel great, and she thinks that they're going to move in together and he's going to take her. What is she thinking?
Right.
And I got to tell you, if it fills you with some sense of, and dude, let me just back up. We're assuming a lot here. We don't even know if this is going on, but let's presume that it is going on, that there is somebody else. And yes, number one, you have to tell your, if it helps soften the blow a little bit, this doesn't necessarily mean that she's doing, like I say, the hokey pokey with another man.
Right.
It could be she's just forming somewhat of an emotional something with somebody.
Yeah.
She's having coffee with somebody at work or lunch or whatever. And
Right.
that taps into something in her that goes, I haven't had this kind of discourse with another human being in so long.
Mhm.
This guy is interesting. This guy is funny. This guy is, in other words, she's falling for him.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I felt that with Wordsmith over here. And shit, I don't know how long. And then
Right.
the resentment starts to build. And then that little thing that you do, which she used to think was cute, and then she used to think was kind of annoying, and now she just lives with it. It is what it is. Now becomes suddenly the thing that just makes her want to jump off the roof.
Right.
And just everything that you do that's normal human wordsmith is now amplified a thousandfold, unbeknownst to you. And you're just being your same old wordsmith, same old, taking care of all the shit, driving the kids to all their doctor things, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And unbeknownst to you, you're just building this resume of reasons why I need to dump wordsmith. And you're just sitting there, and one day she just goes, yeah, I don't like you anymore. And you're like, wait, what? You don't realize that this has been building in her head for months, if not years now,
Right.
all because she had some little connection with somebody. All the way
Yeah.
to the worst case scenario, which is, yeah, she's doing a full on monkey sex with some dude, unbeknownst to you, somewhere else. Now,
Right.
hearing that, does that, let's say for sure, you don't know this, but I'm a private investigator. Wordsmith. This is fake, by the way.
Right.
I'm a private investigator. Wordsmith, and just so happens I got all the evidence in the world. Yeah, your wife's got a full blown affair with somebody.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it definitely hurt and definitely tough to deal with, but I mean, like I said, I would not be surprised by the sudden shift in behavior. And I was just trying to move on, and I mean, it doesn't hurt. Well, feel betrayed and all the feelings that you feel. Yeah, I mean, you just have to deal with it.
I mean, going forward in life, if I said not only has she had an affair, that's one level of pain, betrayal that you mentioned. So on top of that, she's also about to drop some divorce papers on the table. Be prepared, dude. It's coming.
Mhm.
is there a part of you that's a little excited about that, a new chapter in your life, moved on from
Uh,
what is a loveless marriage? Or do you say, holy shit, I don't know what to do with myself, somewhere in between? Where are you mentally with all that?
well, I mean, basically, like a couple weeks before Christmas, she did, you know, we had a talk and she did say she wants to divorce. And she's been like full on 100% just fast tracking the whole thing. We've had a meeting with the lawyers a couple days after Christmas, and papers have been filed, and it's just been that fast. So it's been devastating. It's hurt way more than I thought it would. Because I
So
mean,
she has your audio was in and out a little bit. I apologize
sorry.
for those watching this. This is no fault of either of us, but the audio is just a little wonky with Wordsmith. But so she dropped this in your lap, and since then it's been kind of she's really been expediting this process. Go 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 with the divorce,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like just
and
trying to
you're
like almost like trying to get me out.
and you're kind
Like,
of shell shocked at all this. Like
yeah,
maybe soften the blow a little bit of
yeah,
what is arguably one of the most difficult emotional times for anybody, divorce. And here's wife going, yeah. So anyway, chop chop, let's go. Let's sign here,
yeah,
sign
and
this, sign that. Are you
yeah.
do you have legal representation to help protect you during all this?
Yeah, we basically agreed on everything as far as the terms and went to a mediator, just have everything done like one day basically. So it's really fast and done. She's going to pay me alimony. She agreed to a certain amount. That's fine with me for a couple of years. And I'm setting myself up, moving into a new place this weekend. So, I mean, it's happening just that fast. And
Yeah, yeah, dude. I hate to pile on this, and I am prejudiced when it comes to all this stuff. I will be the first to admit. Um, I with my background and after talking to so many men that have gone through this, I'm going to say with 90% certainty, yeah, there's somebody else, dude.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Given the circumstances, I'm just picturing like family and friends looking at her, going, "You're what now? Are you nuts? You have the four special needs kids. He's taking care of all this stuff, and
Mhm,
you're basically booting him out the door, saying, 'Beat it, dude.' Have you
mhm.
thought this through? Because logistically, dude, her life's going to be extremely difficult.
Yeah, and she
As
doesn't
much as
seem to
she's
get the
working,
full scope of that.
and so the follow up to that is your life is going to be so extremely difficult unless you have a team of helpers working for peanuts that we're not aware of.
Mhm.
Your life just got exponentially more difficult, woman,
Yeah,
which goes towards this whole she's not thinking straight, which goes towards, yeah, people in affairs typically don't think straight at all.
right.
People that are head over heels for somebody in you want hate to use the word in love because that really hurts to hear somebody say that about your loved one with somebody else. That's in essence what they are, in love, in lust, whatever. They make really stupid life decisions like, fingers crossed this doesn't happen. Knock on wood, count your blessings, whatever you want to say here. I've heard horror stories of women just dropping the kids to husbands saying adios, and they take off for parts unknown because
Oh
they
yeah,
met because they met some dude online or whatever it may be, and the guy's like, "What just happened?" Your version is, I wouldn't be surprised, coworker or something like that. She needs to get you out so that she can have the little love nest to herself and she can start anew with new guy. And you're right. You got
right,
to say, what new guy or gal? Let's go there. That's pretty common.
right.
What new person would be so gung ho about saying, sweet, you dropped your husband and now you and I are going to raise four special needs children while you're working your ass off. And that is not the most
So,
typical love nest, new relationship, whatever you want to call it, template.
right.
Very unusual.
Yeah, this is very strange. I mean, just comes kind of out of left field there. It just
Yeah.
I've seen most of it happen from day to night when I, suggested, either, you know, possibly having some physical connection or just having to talk again. And it just seemed like, she just didn't want to talk about it. And then it just seemed like the next day she was just done. Like something about that triggered her to just say, this is over. And I don't know why that one specific thing did, but yeah,
Interesting. Well, regardless, we could sit here all day long and say, I bet you what's going on, and I bet you what's going on. I wonder if it's, regardless, the woman is checked out.
yeah,
Regardless, your life has changed completely, Wordsmith.
oh yeah.
And do you have help?
My family's helping a little bit. I mean, everything's set up for my new place to move into. I'm scrambling to find a job. The whole freelance game has changed considerably since COVID hit, and everybody's doing it now. So it's right now, things are uncertain. So yeah, I'm stressed out a little bit. I'm having a lot of emotions, a lot of difficulty with anxiety again. I'll be fine for like a day or two, then suddenly waves of stuff will hit me, and I'll end up
Sure.
like fighting back tears and stuff. Like, how's this happening? I mean, I
Yeah.
still love her, and it's a lot to deal with. But yeah,
Yeah.
you
And,
know,
there is this ultra manly fake alpha male mindset, if you will,
mhm,
where it goes too far into, screw that woman, what the hell, to the point where if some men hearing you say, I still love her, would be like, nah, dude, you F that bitch or whatever. And, sorry, whatever. I'm not saying that's what she is, but that's what a lot of men would say. I'm here to tell you, your emotions are very normal, very human. And frankly, you would be weird not to have some residual, if not full blown love for the woman because you've been with her for so many years, Wordsmith. I mean, give yourself a break, right? Although it seems like that's what she's doing. She's switched like that. Doesn't mean you
right?
necessarily need to follow suit, and it doesn't make it healthy. It's perfectly normal to have these residual feelings for somebody that's hurt you like this. And it's
Yeah,
perfectly normal to be going through the ups and downs, the roller coaster through all this. Give yourself some
yeah.
grace. Give yourself a break. You're going to go through it. It's going to be a while, dude, before you
I'm
feel
trying. I
quote
mean, it's
normal.
been weeks and months. Like, when's they gonna stop happening? Because I'll be fine for a bit, and suddenly, the tears will start. I was just,
Sure.
I keep remembering the way things were in the early part, which is also very common. I'm not
Mm.
really mourning for who she is now, but for who she used to be. The things we shared together, all the experiences, and now things are just way different. I'm like, how did that happen? I see a picture of something of us back then. It's like, wow, that went from that to this, and so quickly it seems like
Hmm.
just it's just messing with your head a lot.
Yeah, that's tough. And that's all perfectly normal. You're not weak for thinking that. You're not weird for thinking all those things. It's who wouldn't have all these range of emotions after all the shit that you've been through and where you're at now and how this has been. We can suddenly, some people may snicker at that. Like, this isn't sudden, dude. This has been coming for a while. True, but to have it so suddenly like that, it's not like you guys went through therapy and counseling for a
Right.
year and tried things and then you
Right.
decided mutually that this just isn't working. No, it's like suddenly wife's just like, fuck it, you're out of here, dude.
Yeah, and I
It's like,
even suggested therapy here right after all this, and she's like, no, 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 this is
yeah, she's
happening.
done,
This is
dude.
done.
She's checked out. There's
And you always say talk about the lack of sex being a canary in the coal mine, but a lot of times you should look and look and look, you can't see that canary. And I still looking back like, I don't see where she said this is not working for me. This is a problem, and this should be fixed. Or this, other than minor little disagreements here, that I didn't see anything big, like any huge red flags, like, oh, this is a problem. I should work on this.
well, it's the problem necessarily again wasn't like these distinct little moments of fights and arguments and this thing, that thing. It could be argued the shaky ground that it began on. And like building that wall that I was talking about.
Right?
The you built the wall, kept adding bricks to it. The kids were the kind of the final brick that made the whole thing kind of wobbly. You got a little too tall there, not strong enough of a base, keeping with that analogy. And then and that's when the sexlessness came about. It's just that that's such a distinctly bad thing in our mind as dudes that we look at that as this grand thing to look at to say, where did all this go wrong?
Right.
Where before that there was like 10 or 12 things, dude, before the sexlessness thing, the canary in the coal mine, if you will. It's just this big spotlight on all these other little problems below that that you haven't necessarily ignored, but you didn't realize that, yeah, all those things matter. And
Yeah.
all those little things build up over time. And you're going to look back on this, and now you have this blessing slash curse of hindsight
Right.
where you're going to go, yeah, shouldn't have ignored that little thing when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, those little moments that kind of suck. We should have addressed that more thoroughly. Yeah, maybe my anxieties and depression and so forth was a bigger detriment at the beginning of the relationship than I thought. Maybe that I should have taken her feelings more into account then. And a lot of blaming yourself, a lot of what ifs, but in the end, you'll come to the same conclusion. That can't help this relationship. This relationship is done. Uh, what it can help, though, some of this hindsight looking back and stuff, is to learn from it so you don't do this again.
Right.
And so
Definitely.
you repair what's going on up here in you. And make a good home for those children. Uh, oof,
Yeah.
they're going to be going through it. You're going to be going through it. The kids are going to be going through it, and it's going to take a whole lot not to do the whole talk to mom, not me. She's the one who blew all this up, not me.
Oh yeah, yeah, there's a lot of that. And as far as like the kids, everything, she very much wants me to stay in their lives and everything and be part of it and all that. So she doesn't have any animosity towards me in any way. It doesn't seem like she's not trying to keep the kids from me. She's not trying to, screw me over financially. She's just like, okay, I'll give you this much. This will be cool. She's just like, okay,
Well,
I just want this done.
the cynical side of me, Wordsmith, says she needs you quite a bit still,
Oh yeah,
in terms of helping with all this stuff with the kiddos and everything.
yeah,
Yeah, she's not going to completely say beat it, dude, because where's she going to be then? Then she'll have zero life. She can't manage to do without you.
right.
She literally needs you in her life still
Yeah. I
to do
mean,
all.
neither one of us have family remotely close to us. I mean, mine lives
No,
in
no
Ohio
family
and hers
remotely
lives
close
in
to you.
Europe.
Yeah. So how are you? How are you logistically going to do this?
Well, I mean, the kids do have a lot of in-home therapies. That helps a little bit. But still, I'm not sure exactly how she's going to do it. She works from home a lot, mostly, so that helps a lot there too. But and I got a place nearby. But when I get whatever job I happen to get or how that goes out,
Yeah.
I
So
don't know what my schedule's going to be like.
do the kids go to school?
Yeah, yeah, they're in school.
So they're all in school. So for most of the day, they're gone to that
Yeah,
5 days a week at least, except
right.
holidays. So I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
It's a day they're not in school for whatever reason, holiday, just whatever. Kid's sick, I don't know. And your wife's working from home,
Mhm.
and she's got a meeting, an important Zoom meeting she's supposed to be in on. Kids screaming, some kind of chaos with children. 4 kids, they're all home. Does she then call Wordsmith to say, "Fix this, please"?
If I'm available, or she'll hire a sitter, I guess.
I was going to
Sometimes we do
say,
that, but
you're
we have a few of those. But
you're divorced now, and now you're trying to make your own living and pay your rent
yeah,
and everything else. And I know she's going to be paying you alimony or whatever, but you need to go make some extra money,
oh yeah,
and you start a career, if you will, whatever it may be. You're not going to be available to her. You're going to be like, "Sorry, I'm working."
yeah. I
Um,
just don't know if she's really thought through the full impact of that.
no, I
Just
just
made this
logistically,
decision
that's where my
quickly.
head goes, is all the little detail. I'm a detail guy.
That's one of the reasons I didn't, divorce before, because I mean, like, how does this work? I mean, with that special situation, I don't see how we could do it alone,
And
even
I've
part
mentioned,
time.
yeah, I've mentioned before, and one not so nice aspect of when you study marriage,
Hmm.
and you try to determine what was the glue that kept the olden days, the good old
Hmm.
days of grandmas and great,
Right,
what made them like last like 50, 60 years with some of these marriages? It's ridiculous. And when you look at it, you go, was it like this, were they really connected emotionally and loving and sexually? And were people back then just so romantic? And no, it's, she needed him and he needed her, done.
right.
That's basically what kept the glue together. And you've just identified it yourself. Like, you were questioning this relationship. Like, why am I with this woman who obviously doesn't like me in that way anymore? This is ridiculous. And then you stopped yourself and you said, well, kids, we got,
Yeah,
what am I going to do? We have 4 special needs kids. The career thing is lacking and all. I got to work this out. And so you stayed to try and work it out.
yeah.
And
I
you
mean,
was,
me being a stay-at-home dad's been very difficult.
yeah,
I
I'm
mean, it's
sure.
been insanely difficult. Just that the both of us here all the time. It's but now, like, how's this going to work?
Brother, you're in for it. I mean, I hate to be Mr. Cynical negative and just pile on to a man, but I'm doing this out of love, if you will, brotherly love here. Put my arm around you to say, dude, you ain't seen nothing yet. You're in
Yeah,
for it. It's going to get nutty. Especially, okay, I'm going to assume, like I say, with 90% certainty, there's another human being in the picture. Well,
right.
statistically, those relationships don't last.
Right.
So
Even if someone's in the picture, he's probably just looking to get some. I don't think he
I don't
wants
know.
to stick
Who knows?
around. I would,
But
if he does, he's
regardless,
got to be crazy.
whatever that is over there, that thing over
Yeah.
there is probably not going to last.
Right.
And so things get really squirrely when that shit starts going down. And then the fog lifts, if you will, to use that vernacular. You've heard the affair fog and all this other stuff.
Right.
So the fog lifts, and suddenly she's left going, my life is really difficult, and
Mhm.
this really sucks. And instead of coming to you hat in hand, as I often say, and saying, "Wordsmith, buddy, I'm sorry, I did what I did. That was really shitty of me." Now, yes, I had an affair, this and this happened, and I was thinking stupid thoughts. Can we work on us again? Can we try? Instead of that, which happens occasionally, but not often
Sure.
from what I've seen,
Yeah.
usually what happens is they lash out even more at you.
The need
And
for that.
they make your life even more difficult than what it
Yeah.
already is. And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
the next thing you know, a text message is like 9 screens long. You're like, where did this come from? What did I do? And you're reading
Right.
it, it's just unloading on you. You this, you that, that, and you're like, is this person drunk? What is going on? And then you realize their life is collapsing, and they're
Right.
lashing out, and it doesn't go well, dude.
Right.
It's not pretty to sit back and watch, and you're like, this is nuts. Prepare. That may very well happen to you, to the all the way to the level of she may disappear. That happens. I doubt it. Be honest with you.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not, but you never know. So I'm just saying, take care of yourself, dude. Prepare yourself. You're gonna have those wacky moments. You're gonna have those nutty moments where you're like, "What is this woman doing? She already left me. Am I not injured enough here? What the hell?" Um, all the way to the possibility of, "Hey, Wordsmith, buddy, can we work on us again, please?" That may
Right.
happen. Have you? I'm sure you've thought about and daydreamed about that. Um, what do you think you would do in that case?
I'd have to say hard pass.
Hard
uh,
pass.
I'd have to say no. I mean, because probably I'd be more and more excited about the prospect of starting over, and even things get difficult. I mean, relationship wise, no, I just don't see that happening
Life going forward for Wordsmith. There you are
again.
in your apartment, I assume,
Yeah,
alone.
I'm moving to a one bedroom apartment, so
How are you going to do time alone? I mean, you've been conditioned, for lack of a better word, to have these kids and the noise of children, the activity of children around you and in the background, in the periphery for all these years, and suddenly that hear that silence,
yeah,
you're gonna be alone. Does that
yeah,
fill you?
yeah.
Does that fill you with a sense of, all right, I'm looking forward to it, or is that like,
Yes and no. I mean, yes,
yeah,
I'm looking forward to peace and quiet, not waking up to screaming kids every morning at 5 a.m. That'd be nice.
that'd be nice.
um, but mostly I'm just mostly missing like connection with having a partner with her, like which I've missed for a long time anyway. But now she's completely gone. She's not even gonna be there physically, so it's gonna be
Mhm.
different because I've never actually lived alone. I don't think before, for at least for not very long.
Oh wow.
So it'll be an experience.
And you know me, you've watched my stuff. I caution you against, don't go trying to replace Mary
Right.
with somebody else right away.
Yeah.
That's just asking for trouble, Mister.
Yeah.
And
I'll try not to do that, but I'm stupid, so I probably will. Yeah, I'll work on trying to avoid the pitfalls. But yeah. And I'm supposed to focus on me trying to get ahead financially, keep on the weight loss and everything, and try to get myself squared away mentally and so forth.
yeah, continue taking care of yourself physically. You're in a very sensitive spot, as you know, um, emotionally, mentally, very sensitive. Boundaries down, all that good stuff, to where you are susceptible to things like alcohol, substance abuse, overeating. Again, sounds like you've
Oh
done
yeah.
that before. Um, not taking care of yourself
Yeah.
and doing things that make you feel good really quickly. And I am susceptible to that as well. I'm susceptible to overeating. My weight goes up and down pretty easily. I can snack like nobody else, to the point where I'm like, this isn't good. So I have to keep that shit out of the house. I'm one of those
Yeah.
people. Like,
Well,
how
me too.
so Wordsmith had to step aside for a second, and he came back saying, "Yeah, as far as the overeating is concerned, he can't really afford that right now." So we had a shared laughter in that. But like here the other day, I was just telling you how we had that big snowstorm and the ice and everything else. So I was stuck alone in this home in the dark for a while, and I'm like, well, you just want to sit and snack. You want to eat some stuff and drink some hot chocolate and do all this other stuff. So I have to really, no, don't do that. Well, maybe I could whip up some cookies. What? No, what am I sitting by myself eating cookies? What am I doing? So
Right.
that's my little struggle. And I realize it's because in the moment, I'm kind of an anxious little dude sitting there going like, what am I going to do next? I'm bored and control myself. Yours is going to be like a super duper version of that. And what a lot of men in your position do to kind of feel better is go for the ladies. And these, hold up my phone here, these phones make it really easily these days to get on all kinds of apps and so forth to say, hey, I'm Wordsmith and let's get together for coffee tomorrow, and away you go. And in your current condition, if you will, you're going to attract all the wrong people, my man.
Oh yeah.
So be careful. That's all I'm saying. But I understand the need for reaching out for human interaction, love, companionship, whatever you want to call it. It can send you down some really not so good roads. Get on top of continue working on the anxiety.
Yeah.
Are you on any medication for that or anything? Or
No, no. I've tried those in the past and they never did anything for me. So
okay,
yeah.
I was going to say maybe something to pursue. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something to get ahead of what could be some, sure, big downward turns in the old roller coaster here.
Right.
Staying on top of the physicality, working with other dudes, something that a lot of men, thank you, kids, wife, jobs, whatever, we just set aside completely. And
Mhm.
it's one of the healthiest things we can do for our mental and physical health is just getting in social groups with men, sport clubs, whatever it may be, our group, the brotherhood, where you talk to guys online, like, through Zoom meetings and in the forums and just sharing and chit chatting back and forth. Hugely, hugely beneficial. And for anybody listening to this or watching this, the brotherhood is the name of our group. Go to helpformen.com/join and you can learn more about it. We have all kinds of cool benefits and help out guys like Wordsmith here. Um, whether it's our group or another group or a sport club or all of the above, you need to be in contact with other dudes. And that's something that probably you've kind of put on the back burner for now, or not really actively pursued, but I would say put that right up near the front there.
Sure.
If that's something like, well, I've never really ever done that before, well, it's time to start. And it may
Right.
mean if you're a basketball dude, go join a basketball rec league. If you're a bowling guy, a bowling group, I don't know, whatever it may be, but you can find it. It's just you need to actively go search it out. You got to do something. And we as human beings are engineered to socialize. And when we don't, we start going a little nuts. That's all there is to it. So take care of yourself, buddy. You're going through it right now.
Yeah.
And
It's pretty rough.
I appreciate you reaching out with all your stories and sharing it with the world and me making the little videos and clips. I don't know if you're aware, but some of the clips that I've taken from what you have written have gone kind of semi-viral. So got
Yeah.
a lot of interest. One here on TikTok here recently. I think you were the one, correct me if I'm wrong, where you say your ponderings on women not liking when men relax. I think that was you saying women,
Yeah.
women like it when men are active and doing things that help with the family. But when we just sit and do nothing, they really don't like that. Well, I took that little clip and that took off. So you have a way with words, obviously, wordsmith
Yeah. Yeah. That's the wordsmith.
and writing. So continue pursuing that. Maybe starting up a blog all about your thoughts and adventures, writing a book all about what you've gone through. I can certainly help you in that regard as far as the self-publishing world. And you probably, maybe you know that world even better than I do, but I've written a couple of books, 4 books. One of them took off and
Yeah.
it's, I'm excited for you. It's one way to
Cool.
look.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You
Yeah,
can,
definitely. With the writing, I've thought about doing a lot of that. Put together some books. Maybe starting a online newsletter or something.
all kinds of stuff you could do with that, but
Yeah.
I'm also going to be a realist and tell you that's not going to pay the bills.
Right.
You need to do something else to make your regular weekly or monthly, whatever paycheck coming
Hmm.
in. And then if you want to do it bad enough, you'll do the writing on the side. You'll be
Oh yeah.
you'll be up till 2 a.m. doing the writing if you want it that bad.
Yeah.
And the writing is a muscle that you have to exercise every single day.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't, you lose it. And so whatever kind of writing it is, a little couple paragraphs on a blog versus a couple of chapters in your next book, but you scrap one
Yeah.
of the chapters because it ends up sucking and you redo it. You got to keep going and going and going.
Oh yeah.
Don't give up. Don't give up on
Yeah.
that.
The writing something's always come pretty easily to me. I mean, I used to do most of the freelance writing I did before was Kindle ghostwriting, and I did like you get paid in like words. I'm typically do about 10,000 words a day.
Wow.
Um,
That's
so
impressive.
you crank it out pretty fast. We said if I came up in like the early 20th century, I would have been one of those Pulp Fiction guys who were pumping out the words like crazy. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into doing something with that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how the AI technology kind of takes over a lot of that. Kind of
Yeah,
worrisome.
right.
That still, I think though people will pay a premium for real human writing stuff. Right as it is right now, the technology we can tell.
Yeah.
Soon we won't be able to, which is kind of concerning. I've made my living off of writing, so um, interesting times. But Wordsmith, thank you for sharing your story. If you want to leave with any kind of advice, again, it would be take care of yourself, dude. Take care of yourself. Don't worry so much about what she's doing. I know I say that, and I just filled your head with all kinds of thoughts and worries about what's this woman doing.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I've had the same thoughts for a
you've
while.
had the
So yeah,
same
I mean,
thoughts. You're not dumb. You realize
been
something's going on there.
oh yeah,
But let her do her thing, and genuinely wish her all the best. You don't want to see a person suffer.
Yeah, if
Well,
I don't, then I'm afraid that she's going to realize the grass is not greener on the other side a little bit too late down the road. So,
and you know what? What if she doesn't?
yeah,
What if
possibly.
life for her from here on out is smooth sailing? She ends up being marrying a trillionaire who allows her to stay home and take care of the kids, and you'd be
Right.
like, God bless you. Good for you.
Yeah. Cool.
All you can worry about is wordsmith going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Having to focus on
And
me and starting a new life. So,
yeah.
yep.
And you're
But
how old now?
I'm about to turn 44.
Say again.
About to turn 44.
44. Okay, still a youngish man, so cool. I got a few years on you, but so got a lot of life ahead of you, and
Yeah.
you got your brains about you. You have your health. Sounds like you're healthier than ever now. So
Yeah. It's getting there.
you have a lot working in your favor. So don't let a lot of that negative stuff out there. A lot of anti-woman, anti-relationship, anti whatever. Let it go in one ear, out the other. Don't let it deter you from your mission, which is basically you getting better
Right.
and staying better. And then and also worrying about those kiddos and making sure their life is a good one. So I wish you all the best. Thanks for reaching out, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
man.
stay in touch, right?
Yeah. We'll do.
Check out the group if you haven't done so already. I welcome you to check that out. I can send you a link to check it out for free, no charge to you, and
Okay.
then share your story with the rest and commiserate with some dudes, make some new friends there. We have a lot of guys out in your part of the world. I can think of a couple that are very active in your city that are belong to our group. It'd be nice to maybe get with them on occasion in real life. We have guys that do meetups and stuff all the time when we get together in person. So one day you and I may shake hands. Who knows? But regardless, thanks for sharing your story. Appreciate it. Wish you all the best. And for those watching this, if you can relate to some of this and you're needing some extra help, check out helpformen.com. We have free articles, videos, all kinds of cool stuff, courses, books, and our community that we call the HFM, Help for Men Brotherhood. You can learn more at helpformen.com/join. And once again, Mr. Wordsmith, thank you so very much. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.